So, welcome everyone. Let us maybe begin, and maybe before we start to read the opening aspiration, let's take a few moments in silence, bringing our mind back in the body. We can take the help of breath, bringing the mind back to its home in the body, not remaining lost in thoughts, feelings. Mind is home. Fully here and now. Yeah, so if anyone would like to read it out aloud, the opening aspiration for us, the rest of us can inwardly say it while one of us may be reading it. Yeah, please unmute and
I'll read. With boundless compassion and wisdom, I will work for the welfare of all. May we be free from hunger and discord and have joy and a world at peace.
these two things, although we read it every time we have the session, hunger and discord, very interesting, no? One is this bodily hunger. May we be free of that also. And this sense of lack that we usually live with, a constant want of fulfillment, may we all be fulfilled there in one divine. So may we be free from hunger and discord, all the clashes within and outside of us that we live. So today we have to maybe wind up verse 6. We are still on verse 6, so we just continue with the last few paragraphs that are there. And not in a rush, we can take it easy. We don't have to jump to verse 7 today. Let's see, the 3 pages are left. Yeah, so we can start from here today. So it is difficult and it can be quite a minefield. So if anyone would like to read it out, this one and also I think the next one, so 2 paragraphs at once, if we can read.
I'll read. So it is difficult and it can be quite a minefield. But for those who are genuinely serious, it is helpful to have personal guidance on the path if you can find it. Because without a teacher, it is an incredibly difficult process to turn our ordinary samsaric mind into a Buddha mind. In fact, it is also impossible. But But in the meantime, that doesn't mean that we have to sit around waiting for the perfect Lama to appear. I often say to people, with an untamed mind, what can anybody do? Even if the Buddha himself were sitting in front of us, all we could say is practice that we can all do. Imagine the mind is like a wild horse. Although it is absolutely wild, it still has potential. It is a good horse, but when we want to go to this way, it goes that way. When we want it to go up, it goes down. Anybody who is sat in meditation for 5 minutes knows what I'm talking about. The mind is like a wild horse, but it has great potential to be trained. However, we cannot train a wild horse without first taming it. Taming it means that it quiets down, becomes trusting and interested in what we want it to do. It becomes friendly, cooperative, amenable. Then we can start to train it. We can teach the horse to do anything within the capacities of what is possible for a horse. Once the horse has agreed within itself that it wants to cooperate. But as long as it does not want to collaborate, we cannot train it.
Thank you. So I think again, it's good to remind, reiterate, remember that what is the little, so such a little thing if we see, we don't need to read big books and go into big scriptures. Taming the monkey mind. There is a beautiful video. It's a talk by Jetsunma on taming. It's called Taming the Monkey Mind. You will find it on YouTube. It's a very good beginning introduction to what this is all about. So she says in the first paragraph that in the meantime, while we know that okay, teacher is important, and if we get a physical teacher nowadays, difficult to get a true physical teacher, but still, if you are still waiting, you want someone to appear. In the meantime, she says, we don't have to sit idle that oh, I'll my sadhana will only start when the true teacher comes. When will my teacher come? When will my teacher come? So, in the meantime, we have lots to do. And that is what is so important. Seems like trivia, and many a times, even being on the path, we may miss it because mind is so close to ourselves. We always think that, okay, sadhana or spirituality, maybe, something out here. But we see that it's so close, mind, thoughts, feelings are so close to us. And oftentimes, even after years of being on the path, we forget that we are still not having a tamed mind. All the time the mind is scattered, judging people, judging ourselves, wherever it goes we let it go. So as we were talking in the other sessions also about the importance of stilling the mind when it is required, not necessary. Okay, stay, relax. And when the thoughts are required, you jump into action, you think, you plan whatever is needed. But as if, imagine that I have a knife, and the knife is always beating and chopping. It doesn't know how to stop. So it may be a beautiful knife, very, very helpful for chopping vegetables, but it doesn't know how to stop. So what use? So it's like, our mind is like that. It's always chopping, 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 chopping. It's forgotten how to stop. And that is what we have to cultivate. So that's what is shared in these two paragraphs. We'll go back again to them, that knowing when it is needed, knowing when it has to rest, and to rest the mind properly. That mother again talks about where are you resting the mind? We have to rest the mind. And she says we would not need so much of sleep as we do if we knew how to rest and quieten down the being properly. We rest the mind in thoughts, we rest the mind in entertainment, but there is another place to rest the mind where it truly, truly gets rejuvenated. Stilling the mind, bringing it home with the breath, gluing it with the divine name, form of any name, any divine form that may resonate. That's a beautiful rest we can give. But what kind of rest we give? We either, put up a screen in front of us, that's our rest, or we regurgitate and ruminate about past and present events and commentary about it. And that's why we feel drained. And then we feel drained, we need more sleep because we have not rested properly. So mother says that we don't need that much of sleep if we knew how to rest properly. This is what we have to cultivate. Where is the mind resting? Because when the mind is resting in all the commentaries and the storylines, it's not going to be a holy dip in the Ganga river. It's going to be a filthy dip that drains us. So basic, this comes everywhere. We see it in integral yoga. We see truth is same everywhere. We see it in Buddhism, the essential practice of, okay, you have a mind, let us tame it, let us cultivate how to use it well. Okay. When chopping is not required, stop. When chopping is required, back into action. So this is what we have to cultivate. Let's go back and we can then slowly go over it again. Yeah, so while in the meantime, physical teacher, we may be wanting but not available, okay, then, but in the meantime, that doesn't mean that we have to sit around and waiting for the perfect Lama to appear. I often say to people, with an untamed mind, what can anybody do? Even if the Buddha himself were sitting in front of us, all he could say is practice. I was talking today with one of my friends here, that we're talking about whether do we have a choice or not. Now, again, it's a topic of big interest, whether there is a free will, whether there is a choice or not. But if we see relatively, relative degree, in every moment I have a choice. Where is my mind resting? Is it resting in the drainy waters, the dirty, filthy waters? Or is it resting in peaceful, uplifting, progressive waters? Where it is resting? And we can't exclude that, no, I don't have this choice. There is nothing in my hands, because it is in my hands. I am choosing to go back in the storylines and immerse myself there. So I can choose also something which is more beneficial. We have to make this choice. As Sri Aurobindo says, the personal effort of the sadhak remains necessary for a very long time until that irrevocable transformation comes, which of course hasn't come. That's why we are here. So the first paragraph, I was just talking about this one. Anything here in the first para? Anyone? Practice that we all can do.
Ma'am, so is the mind, um, I'm sort of confused that you said mind can be resting in filthy water and also in clean water. So how, like, is the mind working in filthy water or resting in filthy?
So very, very
Like, what's the
simply,
difference?
what I meant is, where are you engaging? See, we are always engaging somewhere. You will see, right? So, if there is like a 5 minutes time in front of me, which is an empty pocket of time that I have, either I can look at my mind, be observant of the mind, and keep bringing it home. We use the chanting mother's name or whether breath, we keep bringing it home. Mind is here in the body, it's in home, rested. Or mostly we find ourselves engaging in thoughts, ruminations, and most of them, 95, 99%, unnecessary ruminations. So that's what I meant, that where, and that's why we have to be always vigilant. Okay, where is the mind now? The moment it goes in unnecessary ruminations, I bring it back in the present moment, in the body. So when I mean to say that, okay, where is the mind resting, it means usually we are resting in the storylines, in the thoughts. That's our resting place, and that is why we feel so drained after 1 or 2 hours in rest there. We feel really drained, we want to rest, oh, I want to sleep. But if the mind is resting either with mother's presence, mother's name, wherever you have faith in, or you are constantly vigilant of the mind, you are not letting it slip into the slippery slopes, you are bringing it back home again and again in the body with the breath. That is another place that we can rest on. So this is what, wherever I am engaged actively, consciously, usually unconsciously, we go into the slippery slopes. So that would be the resting place of my mind. It's like immersing, it's swimming there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, anything anyone wants to add on here?
I used to always wonder with kids, when you said this correlation of energy and a tendency of thinking and how much they're related. Because I used to always feel they don't eat too much and they're always playing. What is it? What gives them energy? Like, I used to always wonder. And there was one thing that suddenly I got an insight, because I could actually see a transition in my niece, that she was in a state where ego consciousness has not yet formed, so still that, whereas the other one has actually gone into the teenager. So you can see it's only 4 years 5 years gap, and you can actually see the energy, the difference in energy, so much it slows down. And that was the thing that it was like an insight for me, that it's so much that whenever I feel, oh, I'm so tired today, and I know if I've not done something, even if I'm not vigilant whole day, I know my mind is not home in the body. It's an indicator, because if I feel I'm drained out and I've not really done something extraordinary that should be, where did the energy go, I ask myself. And that's so true. I mean, so much we like waste it in just by thinking continuously randomly. So I mean, that was really, and and even like children, of course, and people have a transcended ego consciousness, like saints, like mother, like even when she was 94 years of age, she used to work like as if she's 30. And I remember Shadhalu was saying that people who were very young used to say, oh, we are tired, and she was in her 90s, like very late. She used to say, come on, you have to pull yourself. And I used to wonder, and I also did some research, what did she used to eat and all of that, and I came across that she didn't eat too much. She ate very little, just like children. So, and same with Tikna Khan as well. I was hearing when one of the, he had so much energy, like bursting with energy, even at 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the night time we go. So I mean, that's a very good insight, that people who go beyond eco consciousness or who have not yet developed it, like with children, you would see how energetic, and look at us, like, at least with me, after 5, oh, I want to sleep, I want to lay down. So yeah, very deep insight.
Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. You will see this is a very good indicator for us. वो अलग बात है कि हम सुनते नहीं है, we don't pay a heed to it. Whenever we are engaged in any activity which is purely from the heart, like we are totally in it, it gives us energy. We were talking of how to, we eat food for energy. Like there is food, like, okay, there is a fruit in front of me or vegetable. What is it giving me? It's giving me indirect energy of the sun, indirect energy from soil, indirect energy from water, because directly I cannot have it. So when we are connected with our inner truth and acting from there, speaking from there, living from there, that becomes a constant source of our batteries, like energy. So very true what you were sharing, and it's a very good indicator that if we are feeling drained most of the time, we don't, feel energized. We feel like thaka thaka sa, even in our young age. So it's a very good indicator to check what is the life that I am living. Somewhere some alignment is not there, and that is what I have to correct. While we give other, we take it in a different way. We think, no, 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 this happens with everyone. सभी तो ऐसे जीते हैं. So okay, what to do? Put yourself in some engagement which is like more entertainment, in the name of relaxation. So first we take stress, we do things which we don't like, and then in order to unwind that knot that forms there, doing things which do not resonate with us, we have to rely on all kinds of entertainment, buying things, shopping, consumerism. So it's a very interesting thing to observe and to maybe make some changes in our life if there is a signal like that somewhere. Okay. So anyone in the first paragraph?
Monica, I think you're on mute.
Oh yes, I was. Thank you. Thank you. So imagine the mind is like a wild horse, and although it is absolutely wild, it still has potential. It is a good horse. But when we want it to go this way, it goes that way. So it doesn't serve our purpose. This is what we have to cultivate. Mother also talks about cultivating concentration. We must have that capacity that, okay, if now I want that I have to focus on, say, anything, it may be taking mother's name, mother's presence, or it may be some subject that I am reading, something that I'm concentrating on. It could be anything. But when I want the mind to concentrate, it listens, it concentrates. This is what we have to cultivate. And many a times there comes a like a partition in the being. There was a friend who I was talking to, and he was sharing that that the work that he is doing right now, some kind of work, but there has been a change and shift in consciousness, going to connect with mother and reading her words. But the work now doesn't motivate him much. So he has to push himself for that work every day. The same work which earlier he may be very okay with, but now there is a shift in consciousness. Now the consciousness doesn't resonate with now the work that you are doing, which you may be earlier okay with. This we have to notice. We have to be very vigilant and observant about ourselves. So there is no point here, like trying to push myself into something which actually doesn't completely resonate with me anymore. We have to change work here. We have to take a sabbatical. We have to take a pause. So I think we can't make it a formula that, okay, now my mind wants to concentrate on maybe murdering someone, so I should concentrate. Not like that. One must be discerning, okay, what is my focus point of concentration? And then we proceed. Not like a dumb, like we are pushing ourselves into work which doesn't resonate. I don't want to do that work. It's not lost all the meaning, that work. And still I am pushing myself. So there it is an indicator that work needs to be changed. This consciousness has shifted, and hence the work needs also to be shifted. We can't push ourselves to something in the name of, okay, I must have concentration, wherever I am, for doing a job which doesn't resonate with us. We won't be able to do that. And it's good that we are not able to do that. We are saved from many troubles.
So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on a situation like you mentioned that you've been doing something and now it doesn't resonate anymore? Should we also explore or probe that what was interesting you at one point and you were doing it over and over, and going to the root cause of like what is not resonating now? So what's missing here? I was doing it, I was enjoying it. And what are your thoughts on that? Like trying to explore that area.
Yeah. See, if you will, we all are of such an age that we have a bit of years behind us on which we can have a look, like in retrospect, and we will see that we are evolving beings. I can't enjoy the teddy bear which I really enjoyed when I was a little kid. We all have seen that. We can't enjoy the same friends which we enjoyed at one point of time. We wanted their company badly. Just a second. Sorry. Yeah, so no, so this is what we have to see. Now, when we become adults, now I don't know when this change happens. When we relatively become adults, we think that okay, as if we plasticize, we become like okay, molded into one little mold, and that's it, and I'll live like that for the coming years now. But that doesn't happen. We are all evolving, no matter whether we are 70, 60, 80, 90, we are evolving. So something which resonated with me at when I was 30, when I started the job, I can't expect myself to do the same job when something in my consciousness has now shifted. Even that could happen anytime. It doesn't have to be 10 years from 30 or 20 years from when I'm 30. It doesn't have to be then. The shift in consciousness can happen anytime. It can be a sudden shift in consciousness because the preparation has been going on. So we have to be sensitive that this work, which I actually was convinced that I'll be able to do for all my life, now this doesn't resonate because something has evolved in the being. So we have to respect, we have to honor. Many a times this happens in relationships, you will have seen. Like we commit to a person. एंड उस समय तो ऐसा लग रहा होता है कि बस यही बंदा और कुछ नहीं, लाइफ में और कुछ नहीं, बस ये बंदा ये जो सामने है. उस समय लगता है सबको. We fight with our parents, we fight with everyone, we marry the person which we like. This is the person, right? Over the years, because of our evolution, the person may not change, I may not change, something will change. I may be evolving, the person may be evolving, something, some dynamics will happen. We are evolving beings. It should happen actually. You begin to lose your resonance with that person. Very, very common. Very common. But what do? It's a very common practice. We all know about it. What do? We stick to that person in the name of हमें निभानी है. We stick to that person in the name of marriage should not be breaking. Everything else may break, but marriage should not break. You may suffocate yourself, but marriage should not break. Children may suffer, but marriage should not break. We all do that. And we become dead individuals because we don't listen to our inner call. We have to respect when we are growing apart. There is a play by the mother which I really appreciate so greatly. I'll share it later on the group also. Where actually she shares such a story where there are two individuals living together, and they, although they are full individuals in themselves, but the other person finds somebody else who he resonates with, and the third person now leaves the scene respectfully, in dignity, in honor, honoring the evolution of the being. So I think we have to just honor, and in that we have to be shameless. I personally look back at my life. I have been really shameless, because at times PhD resonated with me, and then there was a time PhD did not resonate. Now I did not bother whether I will get the degree, not get the degree, who will say what. No, I just can't do it anymore. Mera ho gaya. So we have to really respect what is coming from within. Honor that call. Because there is a direction which is unfolding in front of us. Truth is dynamic. Truth is ever changing. I can't expect myself to be in the same job with the same person, in the same kind of love or whatever people say, throughout my life. It is not possible because we are evolving beings. It's a good news. It's a very good news if we are changing, because it means evolution is happening. So these are a few reflections which come to me, what you were sharing.
Thank you for that, Monica. So I definitely appreciate your point that, change is the only constant, and we as human beings are constantly evolving. And what might have resonated maybe 5 or 10 years before doesn't resonate because we are just different human beings and we go through different experiences that shape us. Having said that, when it comes to relationships, my point here was that instead of maybe just sort of divorcing that relationship, or instead of just divorcing that thought or whatever you were doing, do we take a minute to sort of reflect and just see what happened here? and just maybe try to make some efforts, and then move on. If you have tried everything and it's still not working, like let's say, for example, okay, let me take a very easy thing, like the relationship you mentioned. Either both people have evolved over the years into different human beings, either one person's evolving, the other's stagnant. In those kind of circumstances, yes, it's difficult, since both people are not putting in the effort, or one is. But then you make the effort, and then you can part ways because you feel that still that I did my best here, and now it's just not working for whatever reason, and then we can very amicably because at least I can give you an example. In North America, we don't repair things. If a gadget is maybe malfunctioning, we just throw it on the curb. But in India, we'll go to the person and get it repaired and things like that, maybe a blender or what have you. So pretty much relationships are like, okay, you know what, this is not working for me, and bye-bye, tata, we are done here. So that's where I was just trying to, that's just my take on
Beautiful. Yeah.
this.
No, totally a valid point, and I'm not saying that we should break the relationship if it's not working. It did not mean that. But the thing is that, see, मुझे लगता है that we have to bring the things in perspective, in the right perspective, highest possible if possible. So if we go by our own understanding, deep understanding, and if we go by what masters have shared with us, we will see that the purpose of human life is not having stable family, stable relationship, stable job. No Upanishad has ever said that. No scriptures, no master. What have they said? The purpose of human birth is growth of consciousness. Or in other words, we can say unification with the divine. अगर मैं इसको अपना कंपस के सामने रखती हूँ, if I keep this in front of me, and if this, first of all, it should resonate with me, that yes, sound rings a bell. The purpose of life seems like growth of consciousness. I must grow, I must evolve. And the purpose of life seems like, yes, I want to know what is divine, I want to be one with the divine. If it resonates with me, that to those caste and breed of people, one can say this, then everything else is secondary. And second point is, everything else is a means towards that union. सोच के देखो, अब now work आया या relationship आई मेरे सामने, right? How what is the highest possible attitude in which I can look at a relationship? Usually our relationships are eating up each other, expecting from each other, all the time getting disturbed, at times having good moments, but they're again expecting, fixing, trying to fix the other, trying to control, dominate, who is the one who is right. Mostly a conflict रहता है relationship में, not giving each other space, freedom to evolve. Now, if I am focused on my evolution and growth as a human being individually, beyond that role of a daughter, wife, or whatever, then I will be able to respect other person's journey. So see, beauty comes in relationship. If that inner compass is right, beauty will come. Why beauty doesn't come? Because our even inner compass is not right. So what I was sharing was the part about if one is evolving, it is okay to part ways. Why just that bit I wanted to share, that it is secondary. Everything else is secondary. First, primary is growth of consciousness. चाहे वो साथ रह के हो रहा है, what you were sharing, trying to fix, mend, growth of consciousness happens through that. So चाहे वो साथ रह के हो रहा है, चाहे वो अलग जाके हो रहा है, मेन मुद्दा हमारा ग्रोथ ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस है, इवॉल्विंग एज ए इंडिविजुअल, यूनिफिकेशन विद द इमनेंट डिवाइन, लिविंग फ्रॉम अवर ट्रू सेल्फ. मेन मुद्दा ये नहीं है कि मैं ये रिलेशनशिप बचाऊं कि नहीं बचाऊं, मेन मुद्दा वो नहीं है ना. वो अगर मेरे प्रोसेस से वो रिलेशनशिप feels like placed and well placed and settled, good. If it scatters, good enough. That is not the primary. The primary is ग्रोथ ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस। अब वो आप कैसे भी कर सकते हो। कभी कभी होता क्या है कि एक स्टेगनेंसी सी आने लग जाती है in especially some relationships where you're trying, not able to see your own flaws, always wanting and expecting from the other person. There becomes a stagnancy. In those cases, the physical separation is very helpful because it gives us a different dimension and a new perspective. The physical aspect of separation, because these are vital engagement. We emotionally entangled with each other. We are so emotionally entangled that we would not even see that we are not benefiting each other but harming most of the time. Still, in the name of husband, wife, or whatever, we remain entangled. That is a poison that we inject in ourselves. That we must not do. So, staying together, growing apart, all part of the game. Not saying that one formula has to be adopted, but the primary, again, inner compass: am I growing in my consciousness? Am I uniting with my truer self more and more? And that will reflect in all our relationships. It's impossible that it doesn't reflect. So, by all means, try if you feel like trying. Not to say that we must not try. And we will try. If any drop of pure, genuine bond is there, we will try. Mostly our bonds are very superficial, so easy to break. But if bonds are deeper, there is a communion at a deeper level, honor and respect for each other, then why should it go away? It can't. It's a deeper bond. But the bond is still not important. That's what I wanted to say. It's not important. Bond is not important. What is important is growth of consciousness. And in that growth of consciousness, bonds may happen, may break, may happen, may break, secondary, not primary. So that's again my feeling. It may sound a little, I don't know, dry or what, but yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone wants to add on, share anything here? We are taking up the second paragraph here. I think this also, to me, somehow it resonates with when Mother talks about disinterested work, a work or a love which is disinterested. So when I am, so here the line that it says, taming it means that it quiets down, becomes trusting and interested in what we want it to do. So very simple. If there is something in front which is the right thing to do, and if I want to put my mind on that, I must be able to concentrate. It must listen to me. So it's also disinterestedness in the sense that your fulfillment is not through that work. Your fulfillment is within. That first we have to parallelly do. The fulfillment is within, but whatever work I set my foot on, I'll do it nicely. It's not that it's giving me completion, but because it is a right kind of a work, it is a genuine, truthful work, I must put myself to it. Like a servitude. Done. So that we have to cultivate, because right now we see that the mind is not capable of that. We may know what is right for me, but we may not be able to follow it because of so many overwhelming influences from all the places which are there. So this is what, अगर पता है right है तो फिर ये भी पता है कि अच्छा इसमें 10 मिनट लगाने हैं तो लगाने हैं, उसमें कोई second thoughts नहीं है. Like mother would say that I don't understand why people can't get up when they want to get up. Once you have said that I have to get up at this point, that's it. There is no second thought. But we have so many second thoughts that we listen to. So this is what has to be again cultivated. We're talking about practice here. बिना practice के किसको क्या मिल गया? And even those people right now whom we may see, oh, so sincere and hardworking, and they don't even have to put effort. Are they like that? But we don't know what effort they have put in the previous lives. How do we know? Everyone has put effort. Mother has put effort. Sri Aurobindo have put effort. Jetsunma, whose book we are reading, she has put effort. What she got convinced about, she put effort. She's not talking about taming the mind just like that, out of a blue moon. So we have to first get convinced what benefits us, what uplifts us, and then after getting convinced, we have to be able to, do some practice, some daily 5 minutes, 2 minutes. It doesn't matter, how much is 5 minutes and 2 minutes. Every day, some little practice which is about that time that the mind listens to me. Yes, we start slow, and then slowly then we work with our desires. That okay, you may want the ice cream, but maybe not right now. And the mind listens. And you give it ice cream. ऐसा नहीं है that you don't give it ice cream, but you give it ice cream when it is not excessively demanding. Then you give it like a reward. When it is urging for something, then you are able to stop. Okay, stop. We won't have that. It's a very good experiment with one. You may be wanting company of somebody, like a social company, friends company, immediately feeling that urge to go out and just interact with someone. Stop. Stay with yourself. Tame the mind, bring it back to breath. Then you may go out, of course, but go when that urge is not there. So this is how we can cultivate experimenting, taming the mind. Yeah, many ways. I'm just exploring. Yeah, anything? Anyone? Yeah, anything here? Taming it means that it quiets down, becomes trusting and interested in what we want it to do. It becomes friendly, cooperative, amenable. Then we can start to train it. So first, it's very interesting how we work with animals also. First we make the animals listen to us. That okay, you are saying sit, sits. You are saying come forward, it comes forward. You are developing a friendship with it. It's listening to you. And then slowly you develop a regime for the animal to be trained, like horses who are running, jockeying. First you cultivate that friendship and that it listens to you, and then you cultivate a regime that okay, सुबह उठ के ये करना है, बाद शाम को ये करना है, आफ्टरनून में ये करना है, इतना चारा खाना है. वो फर्स्ट डे पे नहीं कर पाओगे क्योंकि वो हॉर्स सुनेगा ही नहीं आपकी बात. क्यों सुने वो आपकी बात? क्या जा रहा है उसका आपकी बात नहीं सुनने में? So first we have to develop that friendship, develop that love towards this experimentation, and slowly then we can work it out. All of us, I'm sure all of us are working with it at some or the other level, and we can deepen our practice. And it's beautiful feeling, like we are always trying to sort our houses and keep everything in order. When the mind is in order, it's a beautiful feeling. When it's not working when not required, it's working when required, it's shutting itself down when you want to sleep and rest. How nice. So in the meantime, when a physical teacher is not there, we don't have to keep waiting. We can work on this. Like, when there is a teacher, there is a classroom and teacher has not yet come. Usually what do? We do halla, all kinds of आपस में एक दूसरे को मार रहे हैं, रबड़ फेंक रहे हैं, पेंसिल फेंक रहे हैं एक दूसरे पे. But there would be one or two fellows who are maybe trying to do something uplifting with their time while the teacher is not there. तो अब हमको डिसाइड करना है हमने क्या करना है. रबड़ पेंसिल तो खूब फेंक ली हमने, ऐसा नहीं है नहीं फेंकें, बट अगर अभी भी कंटिन्यू करना है कर भी सकते हैं, who can stop us, but there is something else also that we can do in that time. We all know what that something else is.
This reminds me when we were in school, we were told, when I was working with children, they said, connect before you correct. So just like what you were speaking earlier about that the horse is not going to just listen to you. So you have to form that bond or the connection before you can make it amenable or work with you. So I think, just reminds the same thing that if you are speaking with children, you need to first form that connection. And then they are at a good level to be receptive to what you have to say to them.
Yeah, beautiful. Yes. Yeah, so maybe we can not all, we won't be able to take all, but let's see how much we can take. We can take the next paragraph if anyone wants to read, starting from likewise with the mind.
I'll read it. Likewise, with the mind, we start with shamatha, practice to allow the mind to quiet down and become calm and single pointed. In, in Tibetan, it is called Lisu Rungwa, which means workable. We make the mind workable, flexible, and cooperative. Nobody can do that for us. And it wastes a teacher's time to wait while we try to get our mind into some kind of condition where they can really teach us. This we can do for ourselves. Get the mind calmed down, more clear, more conscious. Develop the qualities of being mindful and being inwardly vigilant, alert, know what's going on in the mind. Have the power of attention so that if we want to stay here, the I'm sorry, am I audible?
Yes, you are. Yes, yes.
Okay,
Please go
yes,
ahead.
yes. Have the power of attention so that if we want to stay here, the mind will just rest here instead of going off everywhere else. This takes time with patience and perseverance. Whether or not we have teachers, all of us can learn to tame the mind. Once the mind is tamed, then it can be trained. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful passage. So shamatha practice, for those of us, some of us may know about it. This just a word that we use for when we are bringing the mind to a single pointed attention, for example, mostly with the breath. That usually is called as shamatha practice in Buddhist terminology. So it is just a way of making the mind concentrate on a certain object. Again, it doesn't have to be breath all the time. It could be any object of concentration. Usually it is taken as a breath because it's most easily, like it's always here, with us all the time. So we can put our attention on that. So like in the beginning, we may start, okay, 2 minutes, I'll stay with breath. In 5 minutes, okay, I'll put the attention on breath. we'll see that it may again go haywire here and there, but we keep bringing it back without judging, without saying that, oh my God, it's not happening for me, without even going there. Whenever it gets strayed off, we bring it back to breath. So we do that for as much time as we decide for ourselves, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 1 hour, whatever. So this is a way of in gathering our consciousness, where all the time it is scattered. So it's like pinpointed tapasya. It's bringing itself into a one cone. So we start with the shamatha practice to allow the mind to quiet down. It disengages with all the stuff actively, which engages it all the time, and then it concentrates itself on one particular object of attention, which allows the mind to quiet down and become calm and single pointed. This single pointed is the ingathering. In Tibetan, it is called Lesu Rungwa. I don't know how it is pronounced, which means workable. So again, as we were talking, so when we want it to come back home, it should come back home. When we want it to now go out, it can go out. So that way it becomes workable tool. We make the mind workable, flexible, and cooperative. Nobody can do that for us. And it wastes a teacher's time to wait while we try to get our mind into some kind of condition where they can really teach us. We all have often heard this thing that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And that is what we have to do. We have to make ourselves ready. If we seek a true teacher and true presence of a master around us, then he would only appear when I am ready. And if he is not appearing, it's a mark that I have to become ready. There is a homework that I have to do, which I'm not doing. So in the meantime, can I continue to do that homework when the teacher is not appearing in the classroom? And it wastes a teacher's time to wait while we try to get our mind into some kind of a condition where they can really teach us. So by the time the teacher appears, you're already in such a mature and a ripened state that he can directly give you the teaching. Shoot, like he shoots at you. But when he's in front of us and we are like scattered totally in our monkey mind, then he may be in front of us that his teaching won't penetrate us, because we are somewhere else. So it wastes his time. This we can do for ourselves. Get the mind calmed down, more clear, more conscious, develop the qualities of being mindful and being inwardly vigilant, alert. This is what we were talking. Where is the mind resting? So whenever it runs back in old slippery grooves and thinks of all the unnecessary things, we bring it back and center it with the breath. Bring it back home in the body. So vigilance, inwardly vigilant, alert, know what's going on in the mind. And if it is slipping, it must be in our supervision that it slips so that we can bring it back. There must be a guard which is awake, security guard, who is awake all the time and knows now where is it going. Have the power of attention so that if we want to stay here, the mind will just rest here instead of going off everywhere else. This takes time with patience and perseverance. So in the first day of, we may be learning an instrument, first day our fingers are not effortlessly playing that instrument. It comes with practice. We have to hurt ourselves many times. They don't work properly. We feel frustrated. So all that is part of process when we are trying to practice taming the mind. It won't happen in a day, but with little practice every day, 1 minute, 2 minute practice every day, we can do it. Persistence. And Jetsunma says that we should not maybe try to do it like 1 hour one day and then 5 days nothing. So better than that, it is like, okay, 2 minutes every day or 5 minutes every day. Smaller windows, but they should be persistent. That helps. Just like with any skill, any instrument, that helps. Yeah, whether or not we have teachers, all of us can learn to tame the mind. So we have some homework to do. Once the mind is tamed, then it can be trained. So that comes later. First, let us tame. We know there is too much employment that we have already when it comes to taming. Even for 5 minutes, 2 minutes, when we want to sit, the mind doesn't sit, the body doesn't sit. So all those things, we have to cultivate if we want to do that. And this is what we call self mastery. In integral yoga, we call, mothers uses the word self mastery. To master our thoughts, to master our feelings, to master even the body. So if we want to sit for a certain duration of a time, my body, my mind, my feelings, they must listen, pay attention. Just a matter of practice, as Jetsunma was sharing earlier. Yeah, so I'm assuming that I think we should stop here today. Not take much, because it's already, these 3 paragraphs, already too much of work. This, like homework, we can take and begin to cultivate it. Otherwise, what's the point? So, any last thoughts? Anyone? So if not, I think we can stop here. We'll still have a little bit to go on verse 6. We'll take it next time. If not any further sharing or comment, let's take one little moment of silence to share and dedicate our merit with all the sentient beings, near, far. May our hearts be full, content, minds simple, workable. May we have lots of progress and joy in our life. Thank you.